Okay, all right, so this is Alan, this is Fred, and this is Randy. Okay, so Alan speaks fast with mistakes. He makes a lot of mistakes. And Fred speaks slowly without mistakes. Randy speaks, he speaks well, but he's limited. He can only say so much. He's limited. So with Randy, I might say, "Hey Randy, how's your weekend?" And he'd say, "Oh, good, teacher." I say, "Tell me more." My weekend was very good." I say, "Come on. Very, very good." I say, "Okay, Randy. All right." So what do they need to work on? Alan, he speaks fast, but with mistakes.
Accuracy.
Huh?
Accuracy.
Accuracy, good. All right, so Alan needs to work on accuracy. And Fred? Well, he needs to speak faster, right? But he speaks slowly without mistakes. Fluency, yeah. So he needs to work on fluency. And any idea about Randy?
Practice?
Yeah, he needs practice. He needs practice with a few things. This one you're probably not going to know. It's called restructuring. Restructuring. Yes, restructuring. So he needs to work on restructuring. So the question is like, well, how? You know, what do we do? You know, in these situations. So let's start with Alan. For accuracy, what does he need to pay attention to? What do you think?
Grammar.
Grammar. Okay, so he needs to pay attention to form. And Fred, attention to, remember now, he doesn't make mistakes. So he only needs to pay attention to...
Authenticity.
Say again?
Authenticity. Like we're talking realistically.
Yeah, you can kind of say that. Yeah, he needs to pay attention to, just to the meaning. He needs to pay attention to meaning, not so much form. Because he's not making any mistakes. Okay, some other things about Alan is that Alan needs to have thinking time. He needs to have thinking time because he's working on accuracy. So you don't want to rush him through things. He's going to need some time to process things. Another thing that he is going to need is that he's going to need really direct feedback. And we've kind of talked a little bit about the about error correction, and if you're very direct, remember we talked about I go to the store, yesterday I go to the bank, yeah. So if it's too direct, then it can shut down a student. But in Alan's case, it's kind of okay to be direct, to be more explicit, because he's working on accuracy. He needs to know what his mistakes are. Just don't scare him out of participating. And as we've learned, I mean, you could use repetition, but recast might be a bit vague, so you might want to have him repeat the sentence, or some other way of making it clear what where the mistake was made. Another thing he needs to be familiar with the what's TL stand for? Yeah, he needs to be familiar with the target language. So be familiar with what he's working with. So maybe, hopefully, you're following up on something that you did yesterday or you did the day before, so that He's building more confidence, he's building his accuracy. Now, what about Fred? So, he's paying attention to meaning. What other, you mentioned a word earlier.
Authenticity?
Yeah, authenticity. So, he needs to have a communicative purpose. With authentic, I want to say language, but I'll say situations. You know, and what I mean by this is that with Alan, you can create a situation. It could be a substitution, like how much milk is there? How many bananas are there? You know, just like, and he's just substituting. You know, coffee. How much coffee? Apples. How many apples? So he's just doing these substitution drills. That's a possibility, but that wouldn't work with Fred. He'd be bored. He doesn't need to work on accuracy. He needs to do something like maybe a shopping situation where he needs to go and buy. You tell Fred, say, hey Fred, today we're going to do a shopping exercise. Here's 10,000 won. I want you to go to the store and buy, our pretend store, and buy as many things as you can and come back and tell me what you bought. So he goes to the pretend store and he has to buy things, and maybe give him a time limit so that he's forced to do it in a certain amount of time. So that's authentic. He also needs repetition. Repetition helps with fluency. So the more often he does it, the more confident he'll become, the more familiar he becomes, the faster he should be able to do it. Now let's talk about Randy. So Randy, he speaks well, but he's limited. So what do you think he needs? Okay, so that's one thing, yeah. So he needs to expand his vocabulary. That would definitely help. What else? Well, one thing is that he needs to, and this is going to sound might sound mean, but he needs to be pushed. You need to push Randy. And what that means is that he needs to be challenged. He needs to be challenged, because otherwise, he's going to feel like, I'm fine, I'm okay, I don't need to know that word. He needs to be challenged. And if you're going to challenge him, then you need to make sure that the work that you're presenting him is scaffolded. Is scaffolded. Why do we scaffold it for him? Any idea?
For the better comprehension?
Well, think about it like this. So you're pushing him, you're challenging him, but you're scaffolding the work.
To give him, to give him a reason to speak.
To give him a reason to speak, and also to make him feel comfortable about speaking. And not only comfortable about speaking, but comfortable about taking a risk. So, we'll change this here to scaffolding for risk-taking. Because if he's not taking risk, he's not really going to change. He's not going to restructure what he does. So risk-taking. So he's going to take a chance, and he's going to say something. For example, let's say she reads a lot of books. So you tell Randy, you say, Randy, I want you to change this sentence. I want you to change this sentence without really changing the meaning so much. So you rearrange the words. So you're saying generally the same thing. What would you do?
Make it passive.
Okay, then do that.
A lot of books are read by her.
A lot of books are read by her. Okay, good. All right. So you add by to it, but you have it. So a lot of books are read by her. And where was the scaffolding? How How did I scaffold? How did I support him in that? Did I just say, hey, Randy, I want you to change a sentence from passive to from active to passive? What did I do?
Same meaning.
Well, hopefully the instructions were clear. But say again.
Give an example.
I gave an example. Yeah. So, well, I kind of gave an example in that I gave him something to work with. So, I started it for him, and yeah, I'll take credit for that. That was a scaffold. Okay, so he needs to expand his vocabulary, be pushed, challenged, scaffolding for risk taking, and that, and have a lot of his work sort of what's called problematized, like that last example. So he has this challenge, like there's a problem. Things aren't just clear, like, you know, Randy, fill this out, or he has these challenges, these problems that he has to solve. Later on, we're going to talk about form, meaning, and use, and I think we'll do that after we take a break. So for now, Alan, Fred, Randy. Actually, here one last thing before we take a break. Yesterday we talked about Ian and Dee. Okay, so which one of these guys do you think would work with Ian? What does Ian work on? What's Ian's approach to grammar? Ian? Inductive, yeah. He has an inductive approach. And Dee? Deductive. Good. So which one of these do you think would be better for Ian? Inductive. Yeah. So which ones would be more sort of play the game before the example? Probably Fred and probably Randy, right? Now, Dee for Alan, because Dee explains the rules before playing the game, and Alan needs to understand what's going on. He needs to be familiar with the target language. He needs to pay attention to form. So Dee would probably be a better fit for